One question can bring you back to what matters, to the truth you've been told to hide, to the emotions you've learned to stuff down so no one else has to feel uncomfortable. Welcome to One Question, a short weekly reflection to help you reconnect with your body, your values, and your truth. This week's question is, which emotions do I allow myself to feel? We are all born with a full spectrum of emotions: joy, sadness, anger, fear, surprise, disgust, love, confusion, and so many more. But most of us quickly learn that not all of them are acceptable. Families, schools, workplaces, and entire cultures teach us which emotions are welcome and which are forbidden. For many of us, happiness is always allowed. It's the safe face you can put on in public. Some people, often men, are given permission to feel anger. Boys are taught, don't cry, but they are allowed to yell or fight. Women and girls, on the other hand, are usually given more space for sadness, but punished when they show anger. And then there are emotions that hardly anyone is allowed: confusion, disappointment, envy, fear, so many others. These are often treated as weakness, or worse, as threats to the systems around us. Capitalism, patriarchy, racism, misogyny, all of these rely on keeping us inside a very small emotional box so that we don't rock the boat. But emotions themselves are not the problem. They are signals. Psychologists call them information or data. They tell us something about our experience. Neuroscientist Lisa Feldman Barrett writes that emotions are your brain's best guesses about what your body needs. For me, this started early. I grew up as the youngest of 5 kids, which meant I was often the little one surrounded by adults and older siblings. I was a sensitive kid, and if I cried, I was called a crybaby and told to go cry in my room. If I was scared, which of course I was because I was a little kid trying to keep up with big kids, I was often called a scaredy-cat. If I believed in something magical or hopeful, I was called Pollyanna, as though I was naive and foolish. Over time, all of those labels taught me a lesson. My emotions were too much. They were embarrassing, inconvenient, or wrong. So I learned to flatten them out, to tuck them away, to show very little, except in rare circumstances when I was with people I trusted, people who could hold them without judgment. But that's the thing. When emotions aren't welcome, we learn to police ourselves before anyone else can. But that doesn't mean the emotions go away. They just go underground, waiting for someone safe enough to see them. This is why I believe so strongly in finding people who can hold space for your emotions. Sometimes that can be a trusted friend or a family member, but often we need someone trained to really listen and reflect. A coach, a therapist, someone who won't rush to fix or dismiss what we're feeling. Honestly, it's one of the reasons I became a coach. I just think emotions are such powerful signals. They point us towards what we want, what we fear, what we value. They show us who we are when the mask comes off. And yet so many of us never get the chance to sit with our emotions in a safe, supportive space. The feeling wheel is one of my favorite tools for this. I used to joke that I was going to get it tattooed on my arm so that I would know exactly how I felt all the time. If you've ever seen it, you'll know it's full of dozens of emotions. Subtle shades of joy, anger, fear, sadness, disgust, surprise. Most of us only ever use a handful of those words. But imagine what might shift if you let yourself name what you were actually feeling instead of limiting yourself to 3 or 4 emotions that your family or your culture allows. Giving yourself permission to feel doesn't mean you must act on every emotion. Rage doesn't mean you get to hurt people. Fear doesn't mean you hide out forever, but it does mean that you recognize this is what's true in me right now, and my truth matters. And here's the trap of toxic positivity. Culture demands that we choose joy and stay positive. Optimism can be healthy, but enforced happiness is not. It often forces us to wear a mask, pretending everything is fine, when inside our bodies, we know otherwise. Thank you for joining me for One Question. If this stirred something in you, don't brush it off. Notice which emotions you give yourself space for and which ones you shut down before they even surface. That pattern likely didn't start with you, but you can choose whether it ends with you. And maybe part of that choice is finding someone who can sit with you, really hear you, and help you make sense of what your emotions are trying to say. So let me ask you again, which emotions do you allow yourself to feel? Until next week, be kind to yourself, trust your body, and always ask better questions.